My name is Tony, and I work the graveyard shift at a little gas station convenience store out near the edge of town. The place sits just off the main interstate, tucked behind a row of patchy trees and a battered old billboard that advertises a fireworks stand. Long gone. There's a back entrance too, though it's more like a gravel lane that winds out to the local road, mostly used by the same old regulars who've been coming here for years. It's nothing fancy. Cracked linoleum floors, yellowing walls, one humming refrigerator always in need of repair. The ceiling lights stutter and buzz, especially when the air's damp, and the radio behind the counter seems stuck on the same handful of dusty country and classic rock stations, day in, day out. Most nights, it's just me, a few truckers stopping for coffee, and the local crowd. Men in faded work shirts grabbing smokes, tired moms with half-asleep kids clutching bags of chips, the rare lost tourist looking for directions nobody here can ever quite give. I don't mind it, honestly. There's something comforting in the routine. The way the night air seeps in every time the door chimes, the familiar faces, the gentle hum of the soda machine that drowns out my own thoughts. I've learned to handle the night crowd, the talkers, the ones who want to tell you their whole life story, the folks who keep their eyes on their feet and pay in quarters, and the odd guy who lingers a little too long by the bathrooms. Weekends are a different beast, more rowdy, more unpredictable. But during the week, it's slow enough that management only schedules one person at a time. No coworker to banter with, not even a security guard to pop by for a coffee. Just me and the fluorescent lights. On the upside, it's easier work, and the regulars keep it interesting. On the downside, I sometimes miss the company. So I've gotten into the habit of staying extra alert, especially since, out here, weird things just happen sometimes. That's why I noticed the man right away. It was just after 1:30 in the morning on a Tuesday. I was restocking gum behind the counter when I saw headlights swing into the lot. Usually, it's an old pickup or a battered sedan, but this time, it was a silver sedan, practically gleaming in the lot's half-light. The engine didn't shut off right away. The guy just sat there for a minute like he was gathering himself before he finally stepped out. If I had to guess, he was maybe late 40s. But what struck me was how put together he looked. Neatly pressed dark jeans, a pale blue button-up, a navy windbreaker, shoes polished like he was headed to some kind of event. Not the usual kind you'd see out here at this hour. That's for sure. He moved with this careful sort of confidence, like someone who knew exactly where he was going, even if nobody else did. He came in, glanced around at the empty aisles, and made a straight line to the counter. He stood there, hands tucked into his pockets, just kind of looking at me. I greeted him, half expecting the usual request for directions or cigarettes, but instead, he asked if we had any fresh coffee. I told him we did. I just made a new pot, though I secretly doubted it tasted any better than the stuff that had been sitting for hours. He asked for a cup, black, no sugar, and I poured it for him, watching the way he scanned the shelves behind me, as if he was memorizing each item. He took a sip, and then, with this almost friendly grin, asked if I liked working nights. It was a normal enough question, and I gave my usual answer. That it suited me fine. That the quiet was peaceful. He nodded, taking another slow sip, then said, "You ever get the feeling you're the only one awake in the world?" Something about the way he asked it felt loaded, but I just laughed it off, said there were worse things than being awake at night. He chatted a little longer, just small talk, the kind you can tell is practiced, easy, but not particularly warm. He had that air about him, the kind of person who's used to being listened to. Eventually, he asked if I'd ever considered doing something different, something more exciting. I just shrugged and told him I was content for now. He smiled again, but this time it looked a little disappointed, like he'd expected a different answer. A few minutes later, he thanked me for the coffee, laid a crisp $20 bill on the counter, and left without waiting for change. I watched him get in his car and drive off, headlights disappearing into the mist. I thought it was odd, but didn't dwell on it too long. Nights are full of odd moments. About a week later, he came back. Only this time, he wasn't alone. He brought a woman with him, a little younger, maybe mid-30s, wearing a denim jacket over a graphic tee and jeans that looked expensive, though she'd tried to rough them up. Her hair was pulled back in a tight ponytail, makeup just a shade too bold for the time of night. She followed the man inside, walking with a sort of deliberate casualness, like she was trying hard not to look like she was trying hard. She smiled at me immediately, broad and bright, and said I looked familiar. Asked if I'd ever worked anywhere else around town. I told her no, and she let out this bubbly laugh that sounded forced. She started complimenting me, saying she liked my earrings, my hair, the way I stacked the candy bars behind the counter. I thanked her, feeling more uneasy by the second. The man barely spoke. He just stood a little behind her, watching, nodding now and then, sipping a bottle of water he hadn't paid for yet. The woman kept up the chatter, asking me how long I'd worked here, if I ever got bored, if I lived nearby. I answered in short, polite sentences, but she didn't seem interested in my answers. She just wanted to keep me talking. After a while, she leaned in, lowering her voice, and told me about this group she was a part of, a kind of social club, she said, for people who liked adventure. She said they were always looking for new faces, people who could handle themselves, people who liked the excitement of the unknown. She smiled again, too wide, and told me that people who joined could make a lot of money, just for being at the right place at the right time. "You look like the type who could handle it," she said, her fingers brushing my hand as she handed me the money for their stuff. I tried to laugh it off, but she pressed, saying she could introduce me to someone tonight if I wanted, that all I had to do was step outside for a few minutes. My heart started to beat faster. I told her I wasn't interested, that I had to finish my shift, and she just looked at me, smile freezing at the edges. Right then, a pickup pulled into the lot and two regulars came in, talking loudly. The woman straightened, said something to the man, and just like that, they left, quick and silent, not even waiting for their change. I was unsettled for days after that. I told my manager and a couple of co-workers, and we all agreed to keep an eye out for them. But for the most part, there wasn't much to do. They hadn't done anything technically wrong, and out here, you learn to keep your head down. A few nights later, after closing, I noticed a car parked across the street from the store, headlights off. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, maybe just someone waiting for a friend or dozing off. But as I walked to my car, I could feel eyes on me, and the sense of being watched made my skin crawl. I got in, locked the doors, and drove away. The car pulled out and followed, keeping a few car lengths back, but matching every turn I made. I doubled back, took side roads, tried to lose them. It wasn't until I turned abruptly into a brightly lit diner parking lot that the car sped off. After that, I was on edge every shift. I checked the windows every few minutes, kept my phone in my hand. I even carried a heavy flashlight everywhere I went. Nothing happened for a while. Then one night, during a slow shift, the woman came back, alone this time. She entered quietly, smile plastered on, but her eyes didn't match. She walked to the counter, hands folded, and asked if I remembered her. I said yes, keeping my voice even, and told her we were closing soon. She pouted, asked if I could spare her just one cup of coffee. I hesitated, then figured it was better to keep her inside where I could see her than risk her lurking outside. As I turned to pour the coffee, I heard the door chime. When I looked back, she was gone. I walked to the entrance, and through the glass I saw a dark SUV idling out front, engine running. My stomach dropped. I locked the door, and just then I heard rattling from the back. The emergency exit, rarely used. Someone was trying to get in. I grabbed the metal flashlight, dialing 911 with shaking hands. I could hear voices, low, urgent, just outside. I considered making a run for it, but my legs wouldn't move. I braced myself, heart pounding, ready for whatever was coming. Suddenly, headlights swept across the lot. My manager pulling up for the end-of-shift check-in. The rattling stopped. I saw the SUV's taillights speed off, gravel spraying behind. My manager hurried inside, and I explained everything, my words tumbling out. He called the cops, and they reviewed the security footage. It was worse than I'd thought. The cameras showed the woman distracting me, while two men, faces obscured, circled to the back door. Another figure lingered near the dumpster, out of sight, but clearly waiting for a signal. The police said the SUV's license plate came up as stolen. Nothing's come of it since. The police patrol a little more often, and management never schedules me alone anymore. But every time I'm here after dark, every time a car idles in the lot too long, I wonder how they knew I'd be alone that night, how much they'd planned. Sometimes I catch myself listening for the quiet click of the door, or watching shadows move just out of reach of the lights. I keep thinking about that night, about what might have happened if I'd done what she wanted and stepped outside, about how sometimes it's not the loudest threats you should fear, it's the ones that smile, that wait, that make you wonder if the night is really as empty as you hope. My name's Tyler, and for 2 years I worked the night shift at a 24-hour self-storage facility just outside of Tallahassee. It wasn't glamorous, but it was quiet and easy. Most nights I didn't see a single soul, just me, the monitor feeds, and the occasional raccoon knocking over a trash bin. The complex had 6 buildings arranged like spokes on a wheel, all accessible through a single gated entrance. My little office sat near the front, with a clear view of the lot and security feeds from every camera. My job was to monitor for break-ins, make rounds every couple of hours, and stay awake. That was about it. It was early November when it happened. I remember that clearly because the air had that heavy, humid chill that only happens in the South. Cold, but somehow still damp. It was around 3:15 in the morning. I just brewed a second cup of coffee and was flipping between cameras when I noticed motion on the west side of Building D. That in itself wasn't strange. People sometimes came by in the middle of the night to grab something from their unit, especially contractors or guys with weird hours. But this person didn't unlock a unit or carry anything. They were just standing between 2 storage doors, not moving, just standing. I zoomed in on the feed. The figure wore a light-colored hoodie, hood up, back to the camera. Their hands hung loosely at their sides. I watched for maybe 2 minutes, no movement at all. I picked up the phone to call out through the loudspeaker system we used to announce closing times and warnings. This is staff speaking. Please check in at the front office. No response. Still motionless. I frowned and switched feeds. They were gone. I blinked, flipped back, empty alleyway, just like that. Okay, I told myself. Maybe they just stepped into their unit, but no doors had opened or closed. I'd have seen it. The storage units are metal roll-ups. You hear those from across the lot. I grabbed my flashlight and decided to check it out. As I stepped outside, the gate lights flickered overhead. They did that sometimes, nothing new. The place was old, and we were always at the bottom of the budget list. I walked slowly toward Building D, boots crunching over scattered leaves. As I rounded the corner, the air shifted. That's the only way I can describe it. Like the atmosphere changed. Heavier, more present. I passed units 104, 105, 106. Then I froze. There was a key, just sitting on the concrete near Unit 109. A small silver key, no tag, no label. I scanned the area, nothing. I knelt to pick it up, and just as my fingers touched the metal, the lights above me cut out completely, pitch black. I stood up fast, nearly dropping the flashlight. I clicked it on and spun in a full circle. No one, nothing, just the buildings looming in silence. I should have gone back right then, but something about that key, it didn't feel random. I don't know why, but I pocketed it and returned to the office. Once inside, I locked the door and sat down. The security monitors were frozen, not black, frozen. Each feed stuck on a single frame. Some showed empty corridors. Once inside, I locked the door and sat down. The security monitors were frozen, not black, frozen. Each feed stuck on a single frame. Some showed empty corridors. Only one camera was still active. The inside of the hallway leading to the back maintenance closet. That hallway had no motion sensors, no reason for the camera to turn on. Yet there it was, grainy footage showing the door at the far end, slowly creaking open. I stared, breath caught. No one entered or exited, just the door, swaying slightly, as if pushed by a draft, except there are no vents back there, no airflow. Then the camera flickered once, twice, and cut to black. I called my supervisor. No answer. I tried our security contractor. Nothing. No signal at all. My phone still worked, full bars, but every number I dialed went nowhere. No rings, no voicemail, just silence. That's when I heard the tap. Just once. A soft knock, then again. It came from the glass door behind me. I spun, heart in my throat. Outside, barely visible in the dim porch light, stood the same figure from before. Same hoodie, same stillness. But this time their head was tilted slightly. Not enough to see a face, just off kilter, like they were listening. I didn't move. Neither did they. Then I noticed something else. Their reflection. It was wrong. The reflection in the glass didn't match. It moved a fraction later, just behind the actual motion, like a video feed buffering. And while the figure outside stood with hands at their sides, the reflection had one hand raised, pressed against the glass from the inside. That broke me. I ran to the back room and locked myself in. I stayed there until dawn, gripping a wrench from the supply rack like it was a lifeline. When morning staff arrived, they found me pale and shaking. We checked the cameras. Nothing but static from midnight to 6 a.m. No footage saved. The key was gone from my pocket. I quit that day. I told them I was sick, needed time, maybe forever. They offered to pull old records, maintenance logs, but nothing came up. No reports, no tampering. Just one note. I'll never forget. Building D's master key had gone missing 2 weeks before. They thought someone had dropped it, maybe lost it in a drain, but I know better. I don't know who or what I saw that night, but I know it wasn't human, and I know it knew me, watched me, played with me. I'll never step foot in a storage lot after dark again. I used to work the night shift at a suburban 24-hour pharmacy just outside of Columbus, Ohio. Decent pay, benefits, quiet for the most part. But the nights, they blurred together. Same automatic doors, same overhead hum, same late-night regulars. I was usually posted in the back half of the store, near the refrigerated medicine and greeting cards. It was peaceful back there. Dimmer lighting, fewer interruptions. At 2 or 3 in the morning, it was mostly truckers grabbing ibuprofen or parents looking for cold medicine. That night felt normal at first. A little colder outside than usual. Rainy. One of those steady, needling drizzles that makes the asphalt look like glass. I was restocking shelves when I noticed someone at the far end of the aisle. At first, I thought nothing of it. Just a customer. I gave the usual, "Let me know if you need help," and went back to sorting boxes. But when I looked up again, they hadn't moved. No cart, no basket, just standing there, slightly turned, like they weren't sure whether to approach or not. I smiled again, just being polite, but they didn't react. Still, something about them rubbed me the wrong way. They were wearing a dark gray hoodie, hood pulled up. I couldn't see their face, but I could tell they were watching me, not browsing, just watching. I shifted to the next aisle, trying to shake the tension. I even made a joke to myself. You've been working too many graveyard shifts, Tyler, but I kept feeling it, that prickly sensation, the kind you get when someone's standing too close behind you. I checked again. They were gone. Weird. Then maybe 10 minutes later, I caught movement on the security monitor by the counter. The feed showed them again, this time near the pharmacy section, just out of frame. Still no cart, still no purchase. That was enough for me. I called for Kyle, our overnight manager. No answer. Tried again. Static. I went to find him, figuring he was probably in the back office or checking inventory in the stock room. I walked past the checkout lanes and noticed something strange. An umbrella resting just inside the store entrance, one of those old-fashioned wooden ones, curved handle, soaked from the rain. But there hadn't been a chime from the door in the last half hour. I moved faster, trying to ignore the chill crawling up my neck. I pushed through the door to the employee hallway, but it was dark. The motion light didn't kick on. That had never happened before. I clicked on my flashlight and stepped into the hallway, calling out for Kyle. Nothing. I headed toward the back office. The door was shut, light leaking from underneath. I knocked, waited. Kyle? No answer. I turned the knob. Locked. I heard soft footsteps. I turned, flashlight sweeping the hall. No one, but when I turned back to the office door, it was open. My heart jumped into my throat. I didn't open it. I stepped closer, pushed the door open. The chair was spinning slowly. On the desk sat Kyle's radio, but no Kyle. The monitors inside were static. Something moved on the farthest screen. A flicker. I stepped closer and saw it. Someone entering the cold storage room. It was kept locked. Even I didn't have the key. I backed out of the office slowly. That's when I heard a voice. Calm, measured, female. There you are. Been looking all over for you. I turned fast. A woman was standing in the hallway, smiling, tall, maybe late 30s, wearing a beige coat and clutching a bag. She stepped closer and took my arm, casually, like we were friends. You okay? She asked, still smiling. I tried to pull away, but she tightened her grip. There's someone in the building. The air left my lungs. I looked past her shoulder toward the hallway, saw the flicker of movement at the far end. Someone, maybe the guy from earlier, just standing at the end of the corridor, half in shadow. I let her guide me, the same way you might follow someone through a fire drill. Her grip stayed firm, but her tone was easy, conversational. I tried asking who she was, but she just said, "Keep walking. Don't stop until I tell you to." We moved past the pharmacy section, down one of the toy aisles. Still no sign of Kyle. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I reached for it, but she shook her head sharply. "Don't. He's watching." We turned left, and I saw the side exit ahead, the one near shipping and receiving. It always stayed locked unless a manager opened it. There were no cameras back there. That part of the building had been under renovation for months. Half the lights didn't even work. I stopped walking. "We should go to the front." She cut me off. "He's already there. Don't turn around." I pulled my arm back harder. "Come on, Tyler," she said. I froze. I yanked my arm and stumbled backward. Her face shifted, not angry, not sad, just blank, like a mask slipping. Then she said something I'll never forget. "You were supposed to be easier." I turned and ran, full sprint. I didn't look back, didn't stop until I saw the automatic doors at the front of the store. I slammed into them so hard they had to reset. Jared ran over to me. I grabbed his shirt, told him to call security, call the cops, now. Security footage showed some of it. The guy in the hoodie had been walking the aisles for over an hour. The woman entered 20 minutes after him. They never spoke or made eye contact, but they always circled the same parts of the store. The creepiest part? When the woman left, after I'd run, the cameras never showed her face. She kept turning, obscuring it, every angle blocked. Police called it an attempted abduction, said I was lucky. They never found Kyle's radio. He swears he left it in the office. That side door, still locked. No signs of tampering. No one knows how she planned to get me out, and I still don't know how she knew my name.